Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Your afternoon girlfriend Yvonne Daniels here for all of our connoisseur media stations. I have got the wonderful Sharon Norman with me. Sharon Norman is with the Council. How are you doing today?
I am awesome and so glad to be with you today to have this conversation.
Me too. Me too. And it's a conversation, I love talking to you, about just protecting our children. I hate that we have to do this, and I am so thankful that the Can Council is around. But I wish the Can Council didn't need to be around. But so we're going to kick
Absolutely.
off the fact that today is, or actually this entire month is Child Abuse Awareness Month. In case you didn't know, it is Child Abuse Awareness Month. We've got the Can Council, and I have heard as many people before I found out, well, maybe a couple of years ago, what the Can Council does. I had heard about the Can Council, didn't know exactly what the Can Council does. So, Sharon, will you explain to us what the Can Council does?
Absolutely. So, CAN Council is we focus on child abuse prevention, advocacy, and intervention. And so, there are four programs within our organization that really focus on that. And so, when there's been a allegation of abuse, children come into our center for what's called a forensic interview in our Child Advocacy Center, or CAC. Um, when they do these interviews, there are a multidisciplinary team, which consists of law enforcement, prosecuting attorney's office, medical personnel, and CPS, if necessary, that sit on and watch through closed circuit television, and that forensic interviewer has an earpiece in their ear, and so if they have additional questions to ask that child, they will relay it to the forensic interviewer. This is important because in places where there is no CAC, a child may share their story upwards of 12 to 17 times in different spaces. It could be on the lawn with their perpetrator looking out of a window at them, it could be in the back of a police car. And one problem with that is, one, it's re traumatization. Every time that child shares that story, it's re traumatizing them all over again. The other thing is, if there are any discrepancies in any one of those accounts that they share, a prosecutor may decide not to pursue any charges. And that in itself is concerning. So, having a CAC is a blessing to our community and to our children so they can get the help they need if those scenarios arise. We have our CASA program, which is court appointed special advocates. So, when a child is in the foster care system, our systems are difficult to navigate. As a child in that system, it's even harder. But a CASA is a volunteer who is trained by us, who will walk with a child through their foster care case. You can call CAN Council if you're ever interested in being a CASA. We do the training, the court swears you in, and then you're paired with a child when you're ready. And then there's our prevention education. Our prevention education work or prevention work comes in two forms. One, the prevention education, that's the work that I do. We call that primary prevention because we show up before harm ever happens. So the goal is to bring awareness, information, tools, and empowerment so abuse never has to happen at all. And then we have our Rolling Family Resource Center, which is a 29-foot RV that rolls into communities to provide resources. This is prevention in the midst of crisis. And so when parents are struggling with need or need support in areas of RV, ideally we'll roll into those spaces, providing resources, connection to other services so that parents can get the things that they need. When you lower the stress because of a lack of resources, when you're able to provide resources, you lower that stress, which means we also lower the risk for child abuse and neglect to take place.
Wow. Okay. That was a lot.
That was a lot, but that's what we do.
And we're so glad that you do. So, man, just going through this, my ears kind of perked up as you were going through because you started out with the heaviest stuff,
Yeah.
what the child has to deal with, the court, telling their story. Oh my goodness. So, you talked about also, when you were wrapping it up, I was like, ooh, this would be a great place to start because if we could get more parents, more of the village, because it takes a village, more of the village to kind of to work through some of this stuff and have some of these signs and these things in place, maybe we wouldn't have to see as many cases. So you talked about
Mhm.
prevention, and I know you and I have talked about that before. So what are some things that parents can do? Like I said, it takes a village, even teachers at schools,
Mhm.
maybe the neighbor or whomever. What are some things that can be done to set some foundation, set some boundaries, set some protection up for children so that maybe they will not encounter child abuse at some point?
That's a great question. And so, one of the first thing I'll say is we've heard the old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so, prevention looks in the form of education and awareness. When you learn the facts, when you know what exists out there, you know what to look for. Oftentimes, people, if it doesn't happen to them or they don't know anyone who it's happened to, then it's like, does this really happen? Well, absolutely. We know that 1 in 10 children will be sexually abused before their 18th birthday. But how can we interrupt that stat? Well, one, learn the facts. Knowing that is important, right? Secondly, minimize opportunities for children to be in scenarios where they would be unsafe. So, an example, you talked about parents getting involved. Let's just use the spaces where our kids may do extracurriculars. Let's take sports or dance. So when they are in these spaces, are we making sure we're minimizing the opportunities for abuse to happen? 80% of sexual abuse happens in one-on-one scenarios. So how are we changing that? That means schools can put policies and practices in place to ensure that teachers are not, or coaches are not one, or other staff are not one on one with students. Or if they are, the setting is both observable and interruptible. So, in other words, do they have windows in their doors? Is there a glass door where you can see, look in? If a coach pick up at the end of the night, every now and then a parent will be late. And so that leaves a coach there with students. What about when that one student is left behind, or maybe they need a ride home? Well, there are still simple things you can do, like when the kid gets in your car, uh, call call another adult, call another coach, call that parent, and leave them on speakerphone for the entirety of that ride. That now no longer is a one-on-one scenario. Parents can also ask about the safety precautions that school have. Are all of their staff background checked? What are the expectations or practices that coaches and staff members have to follow? So these are questions that parents can ask. We don't just hand over our kids and say, "Well, I won't say anything." Since no, we absolutely should know what's happening, and we can give our input. Parents struggle sometimes with overnights. I remember my mom was like, "We ain't staying the night at nobody's house that I don't know." Absolutely. So don't send your kids to homes where you don't know the parents who's in the house. It's okay if there's a swimming party at a kid's house, and our daughter has done that with friends. What parents are going to be there? Do y'all want me to come and chaperone with the rest of you? Like, there are things that we can absolutely do, and a lot of that just takes awareness and asking the questions. And it can feel embarrassing sometimes, like, am I going to be seen as the overprotective parent? Well, it's the difference between being seen as the overprotective parent and years of counseling and healing that your child will go through because you didn't ask the questions. And it's okay to ask when it comes to safety.
And don't worry about your kids being embarrassed.
That's right.
Hey, listen, this is Mama Bear, Papa Bear, the
That's
village
right.
trying to protect you. So
Yeah,
don't feel intimidated by that. And also, what are
absolutely.
some things, you talk about how parents can ask and make sure that these things are in place. What about communicating with your child, and giving them the power,
Yeah,
when they
that's
go out
right.
as well? Yeah.
So that's super important. Connection is protection. Kids who face risk online specifically, our research has shown us that they are less likely to have a trusted adult in their life. So
Okay.
let that sit with us for a minute. If a kid is facing risk online, there is a chance there's not a trusted or safe adult that they have in their life that they want to go to or feel that they can go to. So our connection with our kids and with the kids within our village becomes super important. Who are you a safe adult for? If you don't have children, or if you have grandchildren or nieces, do they see you as a safe adult, as someone who can go to them, someone they can go to if they ever need help when they feel unsafe, or there might be confusing questions that come up for them? Being a safe adult becomes super important. And one of the things that I always say to adults, when it comes to kids coming to us, our response will determine if they come back. So if you hear something, if a child discloses something that seems scary, or maybe they made an unsafe choice, our first response is going to set the tone for whether or not they'll ever show up again. So I always tell parents and caregivers, your first response should always be, thank you for coming to me. Now let's figure out what we need to do about this. And then you can start the dialogue. And a lot of times we always tell folks, use open-ended questions, so it allows the child to give the narrative of what has taken place. So it isn't, why did you do XYZ? Tell me what happened, and 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 how did you feel about that? And so it allows the child to share. And what are you hoping comes from this? Well, and then we can talk about, well, as mom or dad or whoever, this is what we're going to need to do. We know there's boundaries. So let's talk about what that means for us. So oftentimes our answer sometimes is in the midst of frustration, especially, is to respond with how we feel. We're adults. This is where we get to example how we are hoping our kids will respond, manage our emotions. So if you know you're angry, we need to take a moment, let mom get a breather for a minute, because I don't want to say anything that's going to be hurtful and not helpful, because Houston, we have a problem here and we have to fix it and we have to deal with it. And so sometimes taking a moment for the adult becomes important. I did a training last night with some parents, parenting in a digital world, and I said to them, if your kid comes to you with what feels like the sky is falling, again, your response is going to determine if they ever come back. But you make sure that kiddo's okay, and then you go get in the car and you go scream and you cry and you yell and you do whatever you need to do. But in that moment, your child needs, or that child that sees you as their safe adult, they need somebody who is level headed in the moment, who can help them navigate. And we are those people. That's what we're supposed to be for our children. And that kind of connection can actually offer some really great protection for kiddos.
That, and I feel like you're the person that I talked to maybe a while ago when we were talking about it, because I'm the kind of person, children just kind of gravitate towards me, whether
Mhm.
I know them or not, and it's just kind of like,
Yeah,
hey, okay, and so if you are, and so it's wonderful to know that you can be a safe place for a child,
absolutely.
to discuss some things that are going on that have happened to them. Let me ask you this, and this can be kind of maybe heavy. I'm sure there have been some adults that have had to be in this situation where if a child comes to you and the person that maybe has abused them is a guardian, is a parent, how do you
Mhm.
navigate that?
Well, the first thing, oftentimes kids may say things like, uh, please don't tell anyone, but I just need to share it with someone. Or they'll say, promise me you won't tell. And the first thing I want to say to adults who maybe find themselves in that position, never tell a child you won't tell. You can tell them you can count on me. I
Okay.
will stand with you.
Okay.
I can't promise you I won't tell, because my responsibility is to help keep you safe and you don't feel safe. So let's talk about what's going on and see what we can do to help you be safe. Generally, when we're honest with kids on that, they
Hmm.
will they that process is started, right?
Hmm.
Don't make promises to a kid you can't keep, right? Also, don't show your disgust or your anger in that moment when they're sharing with you, because oftentimes we know that 92% of the time, abuse happens by someone the child or the victim knows. And so, if we know that to be the case, they may be telling us about a parent or another loved one that it's confusing for them because they love their loved one. They just hate what's happening to them. And if you show anger or disgust, they may absolutely clam up because they love that loved one, right?
Yeah.
And they don't want to get that loved one in trouble. They don't want anybody else to be mad at their loved one. And so it becomes super important that, I always say, poker face or fix your face. Don't let your
Right.
face say
Right.
how appalled you are or how angry you are. That isn't the way to safety for them. So the goal is to listen. The next steps would be to reach out to CPS. We leave that number for those who need to know it. But reach out to CPS and you can make a report. And that would be the pathway that we would go for a kiddo to make sure that they are safe and start that process. When CPS steps in, the goal, they would interview that child to determine if what they call it screen in or screen out. When they screen it in, that means they submit it to a CPS worker who then show up to have an interview with that child if there is enough evidence to move forward. Um, and so you talked about, the adults around them. We actually train educators in mandated reporting and can train anybody in the community who wants to know what that is.
Wow.
We work alongside MDHHS, CPS, and they do that training with us so people know what it is, what CPS really does, because sometimes people think CPS just comes in and take your kids. That
Right.
actually is not the truth.
Hmm.
CPS does, in light of the Families First Act that was passed several years ago, there is a heightened goal to keep families together. So it really takes a lot to have a child. It has to be really, really, really bad to have a child removed from their home. And if a child is removed, the second thing they do is look for a family member that child can go with so they're not outside of their family. So CPS really does work to keep the family intact because we know research has shown us that it is harder for kids if they are without their family. So the goal is to help get families back on the right track. And that would be the goal. Help them walk in a way that can get them to wholeness again. And after abuse, it can be hard, but it's not impossible, especially when we have the village.
Yes, for sure. Wow. Well, Sharon, you and I, I was looking at the time. I was like, wow, you and I can roll. This is a lot. It is a lot. And I just wanted to leave our listeners, first of all, I think and I thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview with me. And I think that people can kind of hear and it makes it a little more digestible because this is a heavy topic to try
Yes.
and navigate, try and digest. And I'm glad, and I really wanted to do this, to kind of just even make sure that we are aware of this during Child Abuse Awareness Month. And so, with the CAN Council, first of all, thank you all so much once again for what you do. I think some first steps are you talked about the fact that anybody they can reach out to you all to have that training.
Yes,
Okay. And can they reach out to this number that's scrolling down at the bottom there?
they can.
Okay. So you can go to cancouncil.org. You can also get that number that's scrolling right there, call them. And you all, this is a good segue too here. So what areas does the CAN Council here serve?
So we are regional. So we serve Aranac Bay, Huron, and Saginaw counties.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so come in, you can get that training. And is that training, does that include when you were talking about, was it CASA that you were talking about earlier? Is that done through you all as well?
Yep. So we do CASA training that is separate. So if someone wants to volunteer for that, again, you can reach out to that phone number. You can
Okay,
also go to our website and that information is there.
okay,
And then we provide a host of different education
okay,
types of education for communities when it comes to
okay.
child abuse prevention.
Okay. All right. So So basically, this is I want to put it like this too. This is our responsibility as the community to make sure that we are there for our children, to make sure that we are protecting our kids as
Yeah.
much as we can. And you all are providing the resources so that we can start the training.
Hmm.
We can navigate. And this is not just for young children. This is for teenagers. This is for
Hmm.
okay. And so, what ages do you all deal with as far as is it just for children?
No, so we do education. I like to say from the cradle to the grave, but I guess dead people don't need prevention education. But
Right.
we do education in the schools, pre-K and early childhood centers, so pre-K through 12th grade. We provide education for adults in the community, including professionals. So that is our mandated reporter training. We do a training called Stewards of Children, which teaches adults to recognize, respond, and react to child sexual abuse. We
Okay.
also have what's called the Hope Framework training. This is one of those trainings that helps us to put ourselves in the mind of what it means to really think beyond risk into resilience. We provide parent education, so we do parent cafes where parents can come and connect with other parents. And I think the word safe space is overused, but it's important, a space where parents can come and talk about the joys and the challenges of parenting. And so we provide education for everybody.
Okay.
Anybody who will listen, we will provide that information that helps us really build the kinds of conditions where we can lower the risk of child abuse and neglect.
And that's what it's all about. And Sharon, I thank you so much. You just have a heart for children, a heart for the abused, and so I'm so glad that someone like you is part of this organization. And the thing that I love is that the fact that because this once again this is heavy, this can seem so daunting, this can seem so dark, and like there's just no way out, no solution. But there's hope. There is a solution. There is help. There is community. You all help to provide that community. You all help to provide teaching. And of course, we know knowledge is power. You know, what you know, the more you know, the more community you have when you're not isolated in these kinds of situations. This is just a wonderful thing. So the CAN Council, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for once again joining me during Child Abuse Awareness Month. You can go to cancouncil.org. This is Miss Sharon Norman right here. Say, hey, Sharon, girl. Yes, I heard you. I saw you on the interview. You can call 989-752-7226, and they can get all the information from for you for, would you say, Aranac, Saginaw Bay, and did you say Huron?
Huron County, yes.
Huron. Okay. All right. So any last words before we wrap it up today?
I just again want to say all the adults who will hear this today, connection is protection. You are the source of hope for the children in your sphere of influence. Hold that well, hold it close, and hold it well.
Connection is protection. Man, I can't think of a better way to end this. Sharon Norman with the CAN Council, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you are watching this, if you know someone that needs to hear this, share this with them. Let them go back and watch the interview, get all the information, reach out to the CAN Council and support the CAN Council because we are so thankful that the CAN Council is in our community. So thank you so much, Sharon. I appreciate you. You have a great rest of your day. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.